This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Hello, Vanakkam, Namaskar. I'm Evelyn Matthew. Welcome to You Special on NDTV Hindu. This is the platform for the youth where we take up different issues and discuss what's hot, what's not. Today we are at the British Council. We have a couple of climate champs here along with many other students from different colleges in the city. We're discussing today whether a country like India or even youngsters like us, what does it take really to get the attention to the environment? Now, we've had conferences, summits like the Copenhagen Summit, grand events that have brought attention to the environment, but have they really come down to the grassroots level and acted where it really matters? We're going to get different voices and opinions today. Let's start with opening comments. Do you believe, Avinash, the Copenhagen Summit was really a success?
Yes, personally I believe it was a success, primarily considering the fact that it has got the attention of almost every individual in the planet. It serves its purpose. People have started thinking about climate change. So I personally believe that it is a success.
So in terms of awareness, it's done what it had to.
Yes, definitely.
All right, we've got some comments against it as well. Who's against the Copenhagen Summit? Who thought it was a failure?
Yeah, I seriously think it's a failure because a conference like that, we need to come, at the end of the conference, we have to come to a common consensus. That's the purpose of having an international conference where all the leaders, top leaders and officials meet up. And that wasn't done. And people knew even before the summit that was not going to be possible to, it wasn't going to be possible to come to a common consensus. So I think it's a failure, and it was pointless having the conference.
All right, you have something to say? You're for the Copenhagen Summit.
Yes, I'm not entirely against it because I think climate change, the basic necessity of climate change is for the entire world to come together, and we witnessed that in the Copenhagen Summit, whether it was a success or not. It got the many countries together, which we otherwise would not have witnessed. So considering the fact that there was so much trouble, so much of carbon emissions, it was still worth it at the end of the day because it has provoked many and it has got many thinking.
All right. Akila, go ahead.
I am pretty much against the Copenhagen Summit. I agree it got people together, it raised awareness. But I think ultimately what it brought awareness to is how completely helpless the governments of the different countries are in actually tackling climate change and even sitting down and having a proper discussion. I think for the actual consensus, for the actual agreement that happened, they could just have had con calls, around the world and cut down on carbon emissions. They could have had conference calls. And I also think that this kind of a summit doesn't really raise awareness so much as it becomes a power play between different countries to see, who can come out on top. And I don't think that's what we should be focusing on right now.
Well, some say that countries like India really lost out on the Copenhagen Summit. Their voices were not being heard. There were also quite a contrast in Copenhagen. There were limousines being used by the top leaders, papers being used. So really, what was the message there? Go ahead.
Barack Obama, in his what they call the conference saving speech, flew in from America and then flew back again, which was, I think, completely, he could have just used technology that was available. He's always on his BlackBerry. He could just have called up. He could have, voice chatted, called, something. He flew in for, I think, about 6 or 7 hours and then flew out again. That is just ridiculous. Ultimately, I think the only consensus that they did reach is that they would meet again in 2010 and then discuss some more.
All right. So we're also discussing whether, such big, huge conferences of such grandeur really do something at the grassroots level, right? That's where it matters the most, right? So whether it was the Copenhagen Summit or whether it's big, huge events that are on and on about the awareness of towards the environment, do they really do something, or are they just going on about something, about nothing at all? You've got view?
Yeah, most companies that I've seen, I've worked with, they start a lot. But in the end, they really don't have a point, and they do give out rolling trophies and all that stuff. In the end, they put a lot of pressure on students. They work with colleges, but it has no point in the end. I mean, they really don't have a change in the environment. It's all temporary.
What do they really suggest that you do for the
We
environment?
suggest that we start off vermicomposting in campuses. I mean, if they don't give us professional help, then how are we going to start? Because we are just students
Right.
and we really need help and financial help. I mean, we can't depend on college finances, right? So I think they should do something about it. I mean, their only aim is, yeah, do something, start up something. They don't want to end it.
Okay. That actually brings us to that topic, the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. Some believe that companies do this as part of just a conscious cleansing, because we know that industries do pollute the environment in one way or the other. But they try to do a couple of projects in probably rural areas, you know, trying to get back to where they have lost. Do you have a point?
Oh yeah, actually coming back, I had a point for the Copenhagen summit as such. You know, initially it has raised awareness that, you know, it's not about political leaders coming together to discuss how we're going to cut down on emissions. So I think that is the base it has provided. Is we need people who have knowledge in climate and, you know, how climate changes, and, you know, experts in the field need to come together. So I think that's the primary awareness that we have got. Going on, you know, Barack Obama flying in to actually make a comment has made more of an impact than him making it over a BlackBerry. I would personally vouch for it, because had he not got so much attention going all the way there to deliver a speech, I'm sure 5 out of how many people are here today wouldn't have seen that speech. We saw it because he flew in to give that
Because
speech.
his physical presence
His
was
physical
there.
presence made.
You have a point? You counter that, yeah.
Sorry. Well, I think given the world the way it is today, Barack Obama could have said anything, anywhere, and people would have paid attention. You know, he needn't have flown down to Denmark. He could have sat in the White House and issued a 2-line statement, and it would have made headline news the next day. Also, coming back to the CSR thing,
Yes.
I think that what happens is that a lot of companies, like you said, they emit a lot of carbon. They cut down trees, set up factories, and then they have a whole CSR thing to clean their conscience. But CSR doesn't work, because what you're doing is you're not stopping the problem at its source, which is a factory. You're just going out and tackling other smaller problems. I think if companies really wanted to make a change, they would start with their own factories and with their own policies, instead of going out and trying to change other people.
All right. So do you think there should be a set of, you know, laws and a set of, you know, self-regulatory body within companies, so that they can and go ahead and do something and make a check that, you know, okay, we are doing something again for the environment, and check that it's actually being done at the
I
grassroots
don't think
level?
it should be within a company, because once you internalize it, then the company is always going to try and find ways to cut corners and to meet its own profit. I think
Okay.
it should be an external body
Okay.
which monitors all the companies. It should be like one central body, which is not entirely private, not entirely government. I don't know how you manage that.
You have a point?
Yeah, but I'm looking at the CSR entirely in a whole optimistic attitude, because I see many companies are coming forward now these days in the recent past, but they're coming forward to do things for the environment which we did not witness before. And I would not call that selfish if they want to be mutually benefited with that, but as long as they want to do something, they obviously do not want to do it just like that. They want some credit for that, and I think that's fair enough.
Okay. You think it's a start, and it's a good start at
It's
that?
a very good start.
All right, I guess we'll have to wrap our first segment with that. We're just getting charged up here on News Special. We'll see you on the other side of this break.